Some very tragic news has just hit the media in the United States, and Charlie Kirk, the prominent conservative activist and ally of Donald Trump, has died after being shot in the middle of a public event where he was speaking in front of the whole crowd. This is a really sad story, and before I get into it, I just want to make it very, very clear, I'm just covering this for journalistic purposes. This is something in the public interest. I don't condone any statements from either side of the groups that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm not condoning the statements. I'm not condoning any kind of violence. It's completely wrong what's going on, and there's a lot of offensive things that people can say in this world, but there's really nothing that justifies violence, especially deadly violence and murder. It's honestly really tragic what we're seeing today. You might have seen the video going around that shows Charlie Kirk being shot in the middle of a speech in front of the crowd. It's really harrowing stuff. I'm not going to show it to you in this video. It's very messed up. It's very dark. It's chilling, to be completely honest with you. But I'm going to break down what happened, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of backstory as to why Charlie Kirk might have been targeted by this, what appears to be a lone gunman. So let's just take a look at some of the news on this situation, and I'll break down to you how it got to this point. So this is on CNN. Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative activist and Trump ally, has died after the shooting at the Utah campus event. So let me break this down for you, okay? It says Charlie Kirk, co-founder of Turning Point USA, has died after being shot at an event in Utah Valley University. President Donald Trump wrote on his Truth social platform. He was just 31 years old. As Trump remade the Republican Party, Kirk embodied the party's newfound populist conservatism in the social media age. Trump has credited Kirk with galvanizing and mobilizing the youth vote for him. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie, the president wrote. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he's no longer with us. Kirk's sudden death Wednesday sent shockwaves around the political spectrum, with Republicans and Democrats calling for an end to political violence at a time of heightened concern about deadly attacks and the targeting of public officials. Kirk himself was a college dropout, influential with college students and young voters, not only in helping to elect Trump to the presidency, but also to inspire a new movement of conservative activists. His involvement began in the wake of the Tea Party movement and grew with Trump's ascendance. Having co-founded Turning Point in 2012 at the age of 18, Kirk was a prominent supporter of Trump who courted young voters and used his network of nonprofits to seek to turn out voters on campuses and churches for Trump in 2024. Kirk frequently traveled to college campuses, speaking and taking questions from audience members in exchanges that often led to viral videos. Kirk's appearance at Utah Valley University on Wednesday was the first of a 14-city fall American comeback tour. He was answering a question about mass shootings when gunfire rang out. It's very, very messed up. So as that article said, Charlie was a very influential figure in American politics and American media. He was really a guy on the right-leaning side of the political spectrum that was encouraging young people to engage on behalf of the MAGA movement, on behalf of Trump. Look, I'm not from the United States, so I really, I deal with different political issues than they deal with in the United States. But I feel like the political discourse in the US over the last few years has been extremely tense. We've seen all type of things going on. We've seen the targeting of, I believe it was a Pennsylvania governor's house that was set on fire, and a Minnesota state lawmaker and her husband were assassinated in their homes. And then obviously you've got Luigi Mangione and the whole Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare murder. I think it's really unfortunate, but in the United States at the moment, the political discourse has gotten incredibly violent. And, I'm really hoping that this doesn't last. But at the same time, it does seem like we're seeing more and more situations like this occurring. And it really gives me, it gives me Civil War vibes. I'm not going to lie to you. It really makes me sad for America. It's a country that I love. And to see both sides of the political spectrum really go into war, it starts as a war of words. And unfortunately, at times, it looks like it escalates to a war of violence. So just to give you a little bit more backstory on Charlie Kirk's rise, okay, this is an article in the AP titled, "How Trump's MAGA Movement Helped a 29-year-old Activist Become a Millionaire." And this is all about Charlie Kirk, okay? Charlie Kirk's $4.75 million Spanish-style estate is tucked away in a gated Arizona country club that charges nearly $500,000 for golf membership. It boasts a guest casita, a resort-style pool, striking views of the Sonoran Desert. The Make America Great Again political movement has been lucrative for Kirk, the 29-year-old CEO and co-founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point. The nonprofit rocked to prominence by latching onto Donald Trump back in 2016 in his campaign and raised roughly $250 million since. Much of it's been spent cultivating conservative influencers and hosting glitzy events. The organization enriched Kirk and his allies according to an Associated Press review of public records that found top Turning Point officials collecting pricey salaries and enjoying lavish perks steered at least $15.2 million to companies that they, their friends, and their associations were affiliated with. Okay, so look, he's received a lot of money from associating himself with the MAGA movement, okay? And he really is somebody that can actually make content move, okay? So he's very active on his YouTube channel, as you can see here.
You know, Patriot Mobile stands for faith, family, and freedom. But did you know they have cutting-edge technology as well? Switching is easy.
So look, he's getting all type of advertisements on his videos. He's got 3.93 million subscribers, okay? Got all type of popular video, 8 million views on this video, speaking with Vivek Ramaswamy. I always be getting that wrong. Taking on the woke mob at the university. So his whole thing is basically, you know, popping up with these public events and taking on, you know, woke people and, you know, having very outrageous conversations with them.
All right, everybody, who's ready for a little bit of prove me wrong disagreement? And I brought Vivek Ramaswamy.
Big fans. You're Vivek, who ran for president, right?
So, you know, it's really about getting these viral moments, owning the lefties, owning the libs, these kind of things. You know, these do very well in those conservative audiences.
We debate that, the stronger we're going to be as a country. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I don't think you're focusing on substance, though. That's the issue.
Hold on. But he intentionally tried to provoke substance out of you. And you said, well, I'm worried about some laws Congress should pass. I have to ask, what laws are you talking about? Can you be specific?
I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, but this is what you do. This is what you do. You take people and you put them under the spotlight, and you.
Well, hold on. I didn't ask you to come up here. You voluntarily came to the front of the line. You didn't have to do that.
You're purposely antagonizing people on campus, asking people to come up by spreading your weird agenda.
How? What agenda is that? I'm confused, though.
So, Charlie, I'll say this.
So, you know, he has these debates. He puts people on the spots. He gets these viral moments. So this was the one from, I think this was yesterday. This was just uploaded today. It already has 800,000 views. Now that might be charged up by the news that's happened. But he is used to asking very, very provocative questions and low-key asking them in a tone that, you know, maybe communicates some underlying beliefs that aren't so palatable. And look, I don't condone any of what's said in this following video, but I'm just going to play you this clip, and you're going to see what type of things this guy is on talking about.
Okay, so do I have permission to ask you a provocative question?
Sure. I know what you're going to ask.
Okay, fine. I mean, was Hitler objectively wrong?
No. So I do.
Was the Holocaust objectively evil?
I do. I want to like make a distinction between like my personal views that I do feel that it is wrong, but I can't say that it is like objective.
So it's first off, I don't condone any of what was just said. I don't agree with those statements. But also, just for the record, he is asking some of the most provocative, upsetting questions that you could possibly ask. And the way that he's asking these questions, he's definitely setting an agenda. He's pushing a certain agenda, and that's an agenda that a lot of people really don't appreciate. Now, The Daily Show actually did a segment on him very recently. Essentially, you know, crafting these political viewpoints that a lot of people find appealing, and then they're kind of picking up their viewpoints from him, from his content, and then they're dispersing that through the conversations that they're having with people, you know, and he's become a very influential figure in politics off the back of this. The position that people are taking is that he's, you know, overly influential. He's got too much pull. He's doing the most. He's teaching people things that maybe they don't agree with, you know, and I personally don't agree with his point of view on a lot of things. I respect his right to say it, but then also, unfortunately, now we're seeing that we're getting into an era of political violence. So, you know, he was accused of anti-Semitism. He was primed for a huge speech at the Republican Party event, essentially. It says, less than a year ago, Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA, was nearly kicked out of the Republican fold amid accusations of flagrant anti-Semitism. But on Monday night, Kirk is scheduled to be a primetime speaker on opening night of the Republican National Convention. So he got to the very top of what you could say is the political speaking sphere to even get these kind of opportunities.
I'm Charlie Kirk, founder of Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Together, the largest conservative grassroots organizations in the country. Thanks to our work, I talk to a lot of young people on campuses, at our events, on my radio show, podcast, and social media. Said differently, I visit college campuses so you don't have to. I hear a lot from young people about their hopes, their dreams, and their fears. You see, young people are idealists. They respond to vision. For the past 4 years, they've seen the vision of the Biden-Harris regime. That vision is, you'll own nothing and be happy. The Democrats say instead of owning a home, you'll rent a 400 square foot studio apartment. Instead of owning a car, you'll rent a scooter using some app. Their vision is this: limit your dreams, give up, aim lower, be content with less. If you're a 20-something in America, life has been really tough. You've watched home prices rise 47% since 2020, 47%.
So he's really speaking to the downtrodden, but let's get to the modern day interpretation of what's been going on. So this was the American comeback tour that he was on, and he was going to universities all over America, okay, and essentially going there, talking, having open conversations. He was essentially going all over America to basically, bite back at the liberals and to give his point of view and to give people their talking points, all right? So he was scheduled to be starting his Prove Me Wrong tour, all right, bringing it to Utah, and it was already, before it even kicked off, who would have known that it could have gotten this bad, but it was already stoking a lot of controversy, okay? So Charlie Kirk was kicking off his American comeback tour at Utah University on Wednesday at noon, so they're already dropping the low, where he'll host his familiar Prove Me Wrong table, giving audience members a chance to stump the political pundit. And he was all booked, and he would be planning. He would have been, if he was still here, he would be planning to return to Utah on September the 30th to do the very same event at Utah State University. Now, as of Tuesday morning, 6,000 people already signed a petition requesting that the faculty bar Kirk from even coming to the campus, reasoning that he doesn't align with the college's inclusivity values, I guess is what they're saying, okay? So there was a bunch of back and forth. They wanted to get rid of him. They were calling him a campus martyr tour. That's what they were saying it was for. I mean, that's actually, I don't condone, that's crazy to even look back on it. Co-founder of Democratic political consulting firm touted Kirk's tour as a campus martyr tour. That's going to get all the conspiracy theorists out. Calling the university a content farm for white supremacy, cancel culture, and martyrdom. Conspiracy theorists, and all too often, these conventions have little baby fascists getting to cosplay as freedom fighters. But Kirk clapped back. He told the Deseret News that he tells his listeners to avoid deep internet theories that could influence white supremacist, misogynistic, or anti-Semitic views. Rather than try and combat radical right-wing rhetoric with hostility, he says he tries to offer a positive alternative. He says, my job every day is trying to stop a revolution. I don't know how that sounds now. Kirk said this is where you have to try and point them towards ultimate purposes, towards getting them back in the church, getting back into the faith, getting married, having children. This is the type of conservatism that I represent, and I'm just trying to paint a picture of virtue lifting people up, not just staying angry. After the public outcry after Kirk's visit to Utah was publicized, Utah State released a statement saying the university respects the speaker's right to engage in protected speech and encourages a respectful presentation and environment free from undue disruption or interference. That's very unfortunate, okay? He essentially was shocked about this. He said, what's going on Utah on X? Apparently, people were saying Senator Mike Lee from Utah was on his show, and he said, people are very angry. They're calling for my cancellation. This is a greater response than when I go to Berkeley, Senator Lee. What is going on in beautiful state of Utah? And he responded saying that despite the critics, he expects the visit to be productive and a necessary defense to free speech and intellectual diversity, which he said many college campuses don't provide for their students. He said we should have a heightened degree of attention and focus, a heightened degree of protectiveness around free speech on campuses, because the learning environment necessarily requires open, honest conversations where different viewpoints are examined, Lee said. Our students deserve open discussion and vigorous debate. Kirk responded that those who are so angry about his visit to the Beehive State go to the front line of the debate. We're going to have a good chat. So he was scheduled to appear at Utah Valley University, okay? This is the press release. Charlie Kirk is coming to UVU. Charlie Kirk, known for his Turning Point America, he was scheduled, they dropped the low, September 10th at 12 p.m. Divided opinion on campus. It said that some students support, some are neutral, and some have started a petition asking administrators to ban him from speaking. One petitioner wrote, UVU is for unity and positive change. Kirk's values are the complete opposite of this. There's no place for his ignorance on our campus. And at the time, the petition, I think, went on to collect thousands of signatures. So he came to the campus. He was there doing his talk, and unfortunately, somebody opened fire right when he was, after answering a question. I don't condone any of the actions, or the statements. I want to stay as far out of this as I possibly can, to be honest with you. But it says that he was actually answering a question about transgender mass shooters when he lost his life, witnesses say. Witnesses reportedly said political activist Charlie Kirk had been answering a question about transgender shooters when he was fatally shot during an event at Utah Valley on Wednesday. So the kid came up and asked a question about how many TG shooters there were. Emma Pitts and Ava Terry, who are reporters for the news, said they described at the scene, and Charlie gave him another comment, and he then said he asked one more question, and so the question was about shooters, and before Charlie could pick up the mic again, that's when the shot happened. And the footage is out there. I can't show you that. This, I believe, is this an eyewitness?
But an interesting thing is he was shot right during the question about guns, and that was the second person asking a question on the subject of guns. Most importantly, was talking about these trans that have guns, and should they be allowed to have a gun? And then boom, he was shot in the heart.
Man, it's honestly really sad. You know, I would probably say it sounds like I didn't know a lot about Charlie Kirk until this happened. It sounds like I probably would disagree with him on quite a few points. Maybe there'd be some common ground somewhere to be found, but I can't condone this. You know, political violence of any sort is absolutely out of line, and it's really undemocratic. I think the great thing about America is it's got freedom of speech. I don't have freedom of speech where I come from in the UK. You know, you can really get locked up over a Facebook post, over a tweet. And, you know, whether or not you agree with the things that are going on in the UK or not, I've always admired the freedom. You know, America's always about freedom. It is the land of freedom. And the freedom of speech, the freedom of opportunity that's available here, the American dream, has always been so inspiring to me. That's why I like to spend so much time in the United States. And there's absolutely no space for political violence. I mean, you know, do we really want to just regress to just complete conflict and we just take the lives of people that we disagree with? I think it's really wrong. And I'm just really sad to see this, you know, and as a creator, as a controversial creator, definitely not in the same lane or on the same sort of Charlie Kirk, but as somebody that's controversial, I push some people's buttons. There's some dangerous people. I don't like what I be saying. And it's very sad to see. I can't condone this. I don't want to see any political violence, any social media figures. If you really don't like what somebody says, you can either not listen to them, or you know, you can respond in kind with your own thoughts and feelings and words. But there really is no place for this violence. You know, I don't condone it. It's very messed up. This looks like a story that's going to be developing. So if I have any major updates about this, I'll let you guys know. But that's what we know so far, man. It's very unfortunate. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. And yeah, don't want to see anything else like this, man. Truly a sad day. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you.